Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Paige. Today I want to give you some love triangle romance book recommendations. Love triangles are one of my favorite tropes in romance. I love the push and pull between, like three characters. It just creates so much angst and longing, and you just don't know who the, main protagonist is going to end up with. That is just, I like stay on the edge of my seat and I'm just longing for every page, and I cannot put it down until the very end. It's one of those tropes that I just love to consume, and I really don't find it this very often, but the ones that I have read I've absolutely loved, so I'm always looking for more great love triangle romance books. So I'm gonna let you know some ones that I have read and that I've loved. So let's go ahead and get started. The very first love triangle romance that I read was What He Doesn't Know by Kandi Steiner. This is one I'm sure everybody has known and loved, but I couldn't not tell you about it. The heroine of the story is married, and their marriage is on the rocks. They have gone through a lot through their marriage. They were deeply in love, and then they tried to start a family, and that has failed over and over again because she keeps having miscarriages. There are trigger warnings for miscarriage, loss of a child in this book. And this is actually kind of a duet. You have to read this book along with the second book. The third book just kind of is an additional story of the one that wasn't picked. She's a school teacher and her marriage is on the rocks. She just feels really lost and not connected with her husband anymore. And then a new teacher is hired at the school, and he is her childhood best friend. She had a crush on him when she was little, and he enters into her life and just brings like this whole new side to things. It's like a breath of fresh air in her life. He excites her, he makes her feel loved again. Of course, he is very infatuated with her and is pursuing her, and she has to choose between him or her husband. And these two books I loved so much. I didn't know the whole entire time who she was going to pick, and I just stayed on the edge of my seat for these. I absolutely love this, and this is what has introduced me to love triangles, and just such the angst and longing is what makes me greatly enjoy reading love triangles. The next one is also another duet by Emma Scott. This is the Beautiful Hearts duet. The first book is Bring Down the Stars, and the heroine of this story, her name is Autumn, and she is going to this college, and she happens to see a guy at the library, and they begin speaking. They have a lot in common. She really likes him, but then another guy asks her out, which so happens to be the guy at the library, his best friend. So he kind of just scoots out the side, out of the way for his best friend, and she accepts his proposal of going on a date with him, and they end up dating and becoming boyfriend and girlfriend. And there is so much that happens over these two books. The two guys end up joining the military, and they have to go to war, and there's a lot of tragic things that happen, but she is also being pushed and pulled in two different directions by these two guys, and in the end she does choose one, and it was absolutely delightful. Of course, sometimes love triangles, you're almost like ready to pull out your hair because it's like, I just have to know. But that is the delight of reading a love triangle, is that it keeps you just invested in these characters, and you just cannot put the book down until you know how it ends and who they choose. So this one is one that I have absolutely loved. I've never forgotten it. This is Serenading Heartbreak by Ella Fields, and this follows the heroine Stevie. And she and her brothers befriended this boy when they were children. He moved in next door with his parents. his parents, I don't remember if they're abusive to him, but they don't take care of him. So her family kind of just like takes him under their wing a lot, and he's really into music along with her brothers. And as they're growing up, he and her brothers form a band, and one day, you know, leave to go on tour, trying to make themselves, you know, be known, trying to establish their name. And they are just trying to take any kind of event or venue that they can get. And she goes off to college and she meets this guy. He is a professional baseball player, and she begins to date him. All the while, she's kind of had an off and on thing with the boy next door who has grown up with them, who is, you know, off on tour with her brothers, and they start to make a name for themselves. And every time he comes back to town, she's kind of with him, kind of not. They always kind of really, they keep it secret. They keep it a secret, and every time he leaves, you know, he promises her that, you know, kind of gives her empty promises that she really can't hold on to, because he doesn't uphold his end of the deal. And so she meets Aiden, and they begin a relationship, and Aiden is such a sweet guy. He absolutely adores her, but she cannot get over her childhood best friend. And this is their, you know, story of who she chooses, and I love this one so much. Definitely one of my favorite love triangles. This one is a little different. This is Credence by Penelope Douglas. This centers around the heroine Tiernan. She has just recently lost her parents. They died together, and she now has to go live with her step uncle. She has to go live with her step uncle and her step cousins. She's not technically related to them. So when she goes to live with them, they live like in the wilderness, in the mountains, away from, you know, civilization. And this is very different from how she grew up, but she loves it. She finds a lot of peace there, and she begins a relationship with her step uncle and also her step cousins. But in the end, she does pick one, but she does have like something with all three of them at some point in time, but she does end up being with one. So this is kind of a little bit different of a situation, but I still consider it a love triangle. I mean, she does end up picking one, and it's kind of a taboo read, and some people love it, some people hate it, but of course I was the one that absolutely loved it. The next one is A Soul Full of Stars by Bree. She actually is a booktuber as well. This is the only book she's written and published, but I had to immediately read it when I found out about it. I read it a couple of years ago. Of course, you will know her by her channel In Love and Words, but this is her book, and it's a love triangle as well, and I absolutely loved it. This is about Sunny, and she meets this guy. His name is Hunter, and they begin a relationship. They are doing, you know, they're very infatuated with each other. They really, you know, just have a great connection. But she has two best friends, and his name is Vaughn, and he is absolutely in love with Sunny, and he does not want to let her go. And he kind of gives her an ultimatum saying, you know, either be with me or I can't be your friend anymore. And this really hurts her, but she doesn't want to lose her friendship with Vaughn. So she lets Hunter go, and she ends up being with Vaughn. But in the end, she does choose one of them. I won't say what her final decision is, but this is their love story, and of course I ate it up so quickly, and because it's a love triangle, and I love those so much. Another favorite of mine is Maybe Someday by Colleen Hoover. I absolutely love this book. I love this book so much. This is about a girl who is living in this apartment with her boyfriend. Her name is Sydney. Yes, I wrote down everybody's names. So Sydney is living in this apartment with her boyfriend, and every day she notices this beautiful music coming from another balcony, you know, from an adjoining apartment. She loves to listen to the music. And one day he kind of sends her a message saying, hey, you know, I've seen your boyfriend cheat on you with your best friend, because her best friend comes over when she's not there and he has witnessed this happening. So she ends up breaking up with her boyfriend. She has nowhere to go. And so he invites her to stay with him. And this is the guitarist. And he ends up she ends up learning that he is deaf, and so, you know, of course he communicates with sign language and you know, writing things down. And so while she's staying with him, he is teaching her how to sign, but he has a girlfriend. She doesn't live with him, but he is in a relationship. And so this is kind of a love triangle where he has to pick between two girls, either stay with his girlfriend or choose Sydney, because they really have a deep connection and share a lot in common, because she is a beautiful writer. She writes songs, and he has just been kind of lost his muse. Like, she's kind of become his muse, and he kind of is finding that with her, and she's helping him write songs for his brother's band again. And they really do share a lot, but you know, he has a girlfriend. He feels, of course, he has to be loyal to her, and so he does end up having to choose between Sydney or his girlfriend. The next one is One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I loved this one when I read it. This is about Emma, and she is been with, I think, their childhood high school sweethearts is what I'm trying to say. I think they're childhood sweethearts. But her and Jesse are very adventurous. They've always loved to travel the world and just take risk and go on all these adventures together. And they love each other very much. Until she starts, you know, they start getting a little older, and she's kind of looking to settle down, whereas he's not. He's a journalist, and he has to leave on a trip to go investigate something to write about, and his plane goes missing. It crashes, and they can't find him, so he is presumed dead. And she is absolutely heartbroken. She moves back home with her family, and she takes over their family bookstore, and she spends, you know, a few years in grief over him, losing him. She meets this boy who she went to school with. His name is Sam, and he likes her so much, and he asks her on a date, and so she begins to date him. And you know, she has told him, you know, that he knows about her situation and she has to take things slow, but they do end up falling in love, and he proposes marriage, and so they become fiancés. And one day she gets a phone call that they found her husband. He has been, you know, lost at sea, but he has survived, and now he's back. And so now she has to choose between her husband or her fiance. And it was so amazing. I love this one so much. It will definitely keep you on the edge of your seat, trying to figure out, you know, like what's gonna happen, who she's going to choose. And the last one I have is Still Beating by Jennifer Hartmann. This is a darker romance. It's not for everyone, but I absolutely loved it. I read it last year, and it was one of my favorites of the year. And this is about Cora, and she and they're out celebrating, I think, her birthday at a bar. Her sister is there along with her sister's fiance. His name is Dean, and they have kind of been like enemies ever since high school. They've just always picked on each other, and they just don't get along very well. But things happen. People leave the bar, you know, leave to go home. And when she's trying to leave, I think she loses her wallet. Something about losing her wallet, and so she has to try. She's calling her sister. Her sister won't answer her phone. Nobody will answer their phone except for Dean. He's like the last one she wanted to call, but he answered his phone, and so he comes to pick her up. Well, things happen, and they end up being kidnapped together by this man, and they are kept in his basement. and awful things happen. There's sexual abuse in this story, and Dean and Cora go through so much. And when they're rescued, everybody expects them just to kind of go back to living their lives as normally, and they can't, because their lives are completely and forever changed. And she feels a connection with Dean because of what they went through together, but it is her sister's fiance, so he kind of has to choose whether to stay with his fiance or choose his fiance's sister, who he went through this horrible thing with. And yeah, it's dark, kind of taboo a little bit, but it was so good. I absolutely loved this one and highly recommend it. So those are some love triangle romance books that I have read and loved. Let me know if you've read any love triangle books that I haven't mentioned in this video that you've loved. I would love to hear some more recommendations. Thank you again for watching my video. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.